The hangar bay of Station Theta 9 hummed with the constant drone of maintenance drones and the hiss of pneumatic tools. Darren Cole wiped grease from his hands onto his already stained coveralls, surveying the massive starship before him. 20 years as a mechanic on the frontier stations had taught him to expect the unexpected, but nothing quite prepared him for what limped through the cargo bay doors that evening. The dragon was dying. Not a dragon in the mythological sense, though the resemblance was uncanny. Calith belonged to the Drakari, an ancient species that had ruled the outer reaches long before humanity stumbled into the stars. His scales, once presumably magnificent, now hung dull and cracked like old leather. One wing dragged uselessly behind him, the membrane torn in 3 places. But it was his eyes that stopped Darren cold. Ancient, intelligent eyes that held depths of sorrow no creature should have to bear. Mechanic, Calith's voice rumbled, the universal translator struggling with the harmonics. I seek assistance. Darren set down his plasma torch. The Drakari were proud beings, warriors and scholars who viewed most species as beneath their notice. For one to ask a human for help meant desperation had long since turned to despair. What happened to you? The krill swarm. Calith's head lowered. My ship. My crew. All gone. I escaped in a pod, but... He gestured to his ravaged body with one trembling claw. I have nothing to offer for repairs. No credits, no trade goods. I am, as you humans say, broke. The dragon's stomach growled audibly, a sound like grinding gears. His ribs showed through gaps in his scales. When did you last eat? Darren asked. 4 solar cycles ago. Station master denied me rations. No payment, no food. Calith's voice dropped to barely a whisper. I do not beg. I have never begged. But I am. The great beast's legs trembled, threatening to give out. May I have leftovers, sir? Anything. I will work. I will... Stop! Darren held up a hand. He walked to his personal locker and pulled out his lunch container. 2 sandwiches, a protein bar, and an apple he'd been saving. He held it out. Here. Calith stared at the offering as if it were a hallucination. I cannot pay... Did I ask you to? The dragon's claws shook as he accepted the container. He tried to eat slowly to maintain dignity, but hunger won. In moments, the food was gone. When he looked up, his eyes were wet. Why? Calith whispered. I am nothing to you. My people have treated humans with disdain. We called you the short-lived vermin. We mocked your brief existence, your emotional weakness, your ridiculous tendency to form attachments to anything with a face. Why show kindness to an enemy? Darren pulled up a stool and sat down, meeting those ancient eyes without flinching. You know what I see when I look at you? Not an enemy. Not a proud Drakari warrior. I see someone who's hurting. Someone who's lost everything. And maybe that makes me weak in your people's eyes, but I'm okay with that. He stood and grabbed his toolkit. Now let me look at that wing. I cannot... Yeah, you can't pay. I heard you the first time. Darren approached the damaged wing, examining the tears with a practiced eye. You know, humans have this weird thing we do. We help first and figure out the logistics later. Drives the Centaurians crazy. They think we're financially irresponsible. You are, Calith said, but there was no malice in it. Probably. Darren began cleaning the wounds, gentle despite his calloused hands. But we're still here, aren't we? Still surviving, still spreading through the galaxy like weeds. You know why? Calith hissed in pain as Darren applied antiseptic but said nothing. Because we're pack animals, Darren continued. We form families out of strangers. We adopt creatures that can't even speak our language. Hell, I once knew a Marine who cried for 3 days when his combat robot got destroyed. We don't see things as resources or assets. We see potential friends. That is illogical. Completely. Darren smiled. But it's also why you're going to walk out of here with a repaired wing, a full belly, and a place to sleep tonight. The repair took 6 hours. Darren worked through his dinner break, his sleep shift, and well into the next cycle. He used biomesh from his personal supply. Expensive nanosutures he'd been saving for emergency repairs on his own ship. Station protocols said he should report the Drakari, let bureaucracy handle it. Instead, he fabricated a medical excuse, created a temporary ID badge, and set up a cot in the maintenance bay's back room. When dawn cycle arrived, Calith stood before the mirror, flexing his repaired wing. The membrane held perfectly, stronger than before. His scales had regained some luster from the nutrient supplements Darren had scrounged from medical supplies. I do not understand you, Kalith said quietly. I threatened your station once. 3 years ago, my battlecruiser held Theta 9 at gunpoint for 2 weeks over a trade dispute. You lost friends in that standoff. I know. I was here. Darren packed up his tools. Lost my best friend, actually, Harris, good guy. Then why? Because you're not the same person who gave those orders. You're someone who suffered, lost everything, and had to swallow your pride just to survive. Darren met his eyes again. And because someone showed me kindness once when I had nothing. Figured I'd pay it forward. Kalith was silent for a long moment. Then slowly the ancient dragon lowered his head in a bow, the deepest sign of respect in Drakari culture. I have lived for 300 of your years, Kalith said. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have witnessed wonders and horrors beyond counting. But never have I encountered anything quite like humanity. He raised his head, and in his eyes was something new. Wonder. You should not exist. By every logical measure, you should have been conquered or destroyed centuries ago, but you persist not through strength or cunning, but through this absurd compassion. Yeah, well, Darren grinned. We're pretty fond of it. When I rebuild, Kalith said firmly, when I reclaim my honor and my fortune, I will remember this. The Drakari will remember this. Just remember to be kind to the next person who needs leftovers, Darren replied. That's payment enough. As Kalith spread his wings, both whole now and prepared to leave, he turned back one final time. Darren Cole, he said, you gave me more than repairs today. You gave me hope. That is the true miracle. The dragon took flight, disappearing into the star-speckled void beyond the hangar's atmospheric shield. Darren watched him go, then turned back to his work, humming an old Earth song about humanity's stubborn refusal to give up on anyone. After all, that's what humans did.